Ladies, let's dive into a truth that is both empowering and eye-opening. It's the kind of truth you've probably suspected but haven't been told outright. Why do men lust first and love later? It's time to separate the myths from the facts. Because understanding this dynamic can transform how you approach relationships, navigate your expectations, and most importantly, protect your heart. First, we need to recognize something powerful. Men and women are wired differently. At the core of this, men's attraction is often driven by biological instincts that they can't entirely control. From an evolutionary perspective, their initial attraction is deeply rooted in physical desire. This isn't about a lack of depth or commitment. It's about their primal urge. They see someone they're attracted to, and the immediate reaction is driven by lust. It's instinctive. This doesn't mean it's all they feel or are capable of feeling, but when a man first meets a woman, the natural reaction isn't to evaluate if she's the one for him. It's about physical chemistry. Men are more likely to act on their impulses when they feel that initial spark, and that's why they may not fall in love immediately. Lust is fast, intense, and often confusing. On the other hand, love is something entirely different. Love, true love, requires time, effort, vulnerability, and deep emotional connection. Love builds gradually through shared experiences, communication, trust, and understanding. It doesn't happen overnight. It's not something that can be forced or rushed, but it's something that develops over time as men get to know you beyond the physical. So, why do men take longer to love than women often expect? Because love requires something deeper than physical attraction. Lust is easy. Love is complex. When a man lusts, he's reacting to something immediate. But love takes patience. Love takes investment. It's built on emotional bonds, not just physical ones. The time it takes for a man to transition from lust to love is the time he needs to evaluate whether he sees a future with you, if there's trust, and if your personalities align in a way that transcends attraction. But here's the thing. Women often confuse lust with love. This can create a lot of frustration because it leads to expectations that aren't realistic. When a man is lusting, he may act very affectionately or even promise emotional connection, but the reality is it's still on the level of physical desire. Don't mistake lust for love. Lust is intense, but it doesn't have the same staying power. Love is steady, lasting, and evolving. Now, what can you do with this knowledge? It's crucial to let the relationship unfold naturally. Don't rush it. Allow him the space and time to discover the deeper connection. Let him come to love you at his own pace. Be patient with the process. Instead of giving in to the desire to rush him into emotional attachment, focus on building a connection based on trust, respect, and shared values. When you understand that men's journey from lust to love takes time, it shifts how you approach relationships. You can manage your expectations. You won't find yourself stuck in the cycle of hoping for love when lust is all that's present. And you won't feel frustrated when he isn't yet ready to make the emotional leap. So here's the truth. Men lust first. That's their biological makeup. But they don't always love immediately. Love takes time, and it's something that's earned through emotional depth and connection. When you know this, you can step into a relationship with a clearer understanding and more realistic expectations. Love doesn't come with a timeline, but when a man truly loves you, he'll demonstrate it in a way that is so much deeper than the initial attraction. And that, my friends, is worth the wait. Men's initial attraction to women is often misunderstood, not just by women, but by men themselves. When we say that men are biologically wired to respond to physical attraction first, it's not a cliche. It's science, it's psychology, and it's part of their evolutionary programming. At the most basic level, a man's first instinct when he sees someone he's attracted to is driven by a surge of dopamine and testosterone. His eyes lock onto visual cues, facial features, body language, confidence, and his brain reacts with desire. That desire is not in the beginning about connection, commitment, or compatibility. It's about physical chemistry. It's about lust. And this is where so many misunderstandings begin in relationships. It's important to understand that this initial burst of attraction doesn't mean a man is shallow or incapable of deep love. It simply means his first reaction is primal. For thousands of years, men have evolved to be visual creatures. Their biological instincts have trained them to look for signals of health, fertility, and vitality, traits that, evolutionarily speaking, are associated with physical beauty and vitality. Traits that, evolutionarily speaking, are associated with physical beauty and vitality. Traits that, evolutionarily speaking, are associated with physical beauty and vitality. When he feels that chemistry, he reacts immediately. This isn't something he decides. It's something that happens. It's automatic. And this is the reason why so many men seem to fall fast, but not necessarily deep. That first wave of desire isn't love. It's not even close. It's pure attraction. It's physical. But in that moment, it can feel incredibly intense. And here's where many women misinterpret what's happening. Because that intensity feels like emotional connection, they assume he's feeling something deeper. But he's not yet. What he's feeling is excitement, anticipation, desire. He's imagining the best version of who you might be because he hasn't had the chance to get to know who you really are. And that fantasy can be powerful, but fantasies fade. Reality always sets in, and the transition between lust and love, if it happens at all, requires far more than just initial chemistry. It takes time for a man to move beyond what he sees and into what he feels. For that transition to happen, he needs space to understand who you are beyond the surface. That means hearing your voice, your opinions, your values. It means watching how you respond to conflict, how you treat others, how you handle disappointment. These things don't register in a first impression. They emerge slowly, over days, weeks, and sometimes months. Only when he's exposed to your full humanity, your vulnerability, your strength, your imperfections, can he begin to fall in love with the person, not just the image. And here's where things often go wrong, because many women feel that initial chemistry too. They feel desired, wanted, chosen, and that feels good. But they may project emotional depth onto what is, at that stage, only surface level intensity. When he pursues, she assumes he's serious. When he compliments her, she assumes he's already emotionally invested. But his behavior in the early stages is usually a reaction to how he feels in the moment, not a signal of lasting commitment. This doesn't mean he's being dishonest. It means he's still in the phase of exploration. And exploration doesn't equal devotion. This is why it's so important to step back and recognize what's really happening in the early stages of attraction. Men, for the most part, don't fall in love instantly. They feel attracted, they feel excited. But love, that comes from depth. And depth takes time. Emotional connection takes effort. Vulnerability takes courage. Those aren't things that can be felt in the first few dates or the first few passionate nights. They're built slowly, over shared conversations, honest moments, and emotional intimacy. So when a man seems incredibly into you in the beginning, don't rush to assume he's emotionally invested. Take a breath. Let him show you whether that desire can mature into something deeper. Watch what he does once the newness wears off. Does he still want to know you? Does he make the effort to see you, hear you, understand you? Because that's when lust starts to evolve into something real. That's when it stops being about the fantasy and becomes about the person standing in front of him. Understanding this truth doesn't mean you should be cynical about a man's interest. It just means you should be grounded. Don't confuse initial desire for lasting love. Don't mistake physical chemistry for emotional depth. Instead, let time be your filter. Let consistency be your proof. Because a man who truly wants to love you won't just chase you when the excitement is high. He'll stay when things get real. He'll choose to know the real you beyond the image that first drew him in. And that's the kind of connection worth waiting for. Lust and love are often confused, especially in the early stages of a relationship. They can feel incredibly similar at first. Both are intense, both are exciting, and both can sweep you off your feet. But while lust is driven by physical desire and instant gratification, love is built on emotional connection, trust, and mutual respect. The difference between the two isn't always easy to spot, but understanding it is essential if you want to create lasting, meaningful relationships. Lust is fast. It's urgent. It's that electric feeling you get when someone walks into the room and everything inside you reacts. The butterflies, the flirting, the magnetic pull towards someone you find irresistibly attractive. It doesn't ask questions, it doesn't need answers. It's about how someone makes you feel in the moment. Lust is largely a reaction of the body. It's fueled by hormones, dopamine, adrenaline, testosterone. And because of that, it can be overwhelming. It can convince you that you're falling for someone when in reality, you're just caught in the heat of physical chemistry. Love, on the other hand, is slow. It's patient. It's something that builds over time. Where lust is about what you want to take, love is about what you're willing to give. It's not just about how someone looks, it's about how they make you feel when you're around them. Not just in moments of passion, but in moments of silence, conflict, vulnerability, and everyday life. Love doesn't just want to possess, it wants to understand, protect, and grow. It isn't reactive, it's intentional. One of the reasons people confuse the two is because lust can feel so powerful. When a man is attracted to a woman, the intensity of that physical desire can lead both of them to assume there's something deeper happening. But in many cases, that assumption is premature. Lust can imitate love in how it makes someone behave. Late night texts, thoughtful gestures, the desire to spend time together. But if it's only lust, those behaviors often disappear once the physical thrill wears off. That's why emotional depth is the real test. Love is what remains after the spark fades. It's what you see when the novelty is gone. When a man loves a woman, he doesn't just desire her, he values her. He respects her faults, listens to her fears, encourages her dreams. He chooses to stay when things aren't easy. He doesn't just show up when it's convenient or when he wants something. He shows up because he cares about her well-being and sees a future with her. That's the key difference. Lust lives in the present, love thinks long-term. This distinction is especially important because it protects you from heartbreak. When you understand that lust often comes first, you stop expecting a man to commit just because there's chemistry. You allow time to reveal his intentions. You observe not just how he treats you when things are hot and exciting, but how he acts when things slow down, when real life kicks in, when you disagree, when your flaws are visible. Love isn't scared by those moments. In fact, it grows through them. Too many relationships begin and end in the space of lust. They start off with fire, but burn out just as quickly. That's because lust alone isn't sustainable. It doesn't offer the tools needed to handle challenges, to build trust, or to support each other emotionally. It's like sprinting in a marathon, exhilarating at first, but exhausting if it doesn't have the foundation to carry on. Love, however, is steady. It may not have the same explosive start, but it has endurance. It deepens with time and becomes more fulfilling as the connection matures. Another point that often gets overlooked is that lust can exist without any emotional intimacy at all. A man can feel strong desire for a woman without knowing anything about her. That desire might inspire him to pursue, to flirt, even to make promises. But none of that guarantees emotional involvement. That's why a relationship based only on lust can feel so confusing. It looks like love in its gestures, but it doesn't act like love when challenges appear. It disappears when things get hard or when the excitement fades. To truly tell the difference, you have to step back and ask yourself some honest questions. Is he interested in your mind, your values, your heart, or just your body? Does he stay engaged after the physical connection, or does he start to drift? Does he invest time in really getting to know you, or is everything surface level? Love reveals itself through consistency, not intensity. It grows in the quiet moments just as much as in the passionate ones. In the end, knowing the difference between lust and love empowers you. It allows you to slow things down and evaluate the relationship clearly. Lust may bring you together, but only love will keep you together. Let time and emotional truth reveal what's real. And remember, if it's only lust, it will fade. But if it's love, it will deepen, strengthen, and stand the test of time. Time has a unique way of revealing what truly lies beneath the surface of any relationship. When it comes to men and their emotional journey from lust to love, time is not just a factor, it's a necessity. Lust may be instant, sparked by attraction and chemistry, but love needs space to grow. It needs shared experiences, emotional connection, and, most importantly, vulnerability. Many women wonder why a man who was once so intense and passionate seems to cool off over time. But what's actually happening in that gap is a deeper sorting process. He's figuring out if what he feels is something real or just a temporary thrill. A man can feel strong desire for someone early on, even without knowing anything about her. That's how lust works. It's reactive, and in the beginning, it can feel like love simply because of how powerful it is. But as the days turn into weeks and the excitement starts to normalize, something else starts to happen. His emotional compass begins to activate. He starts to look for more than a feeling. He starts to look for connection, compatibility, and emotional safety. And this is the moment where lust either deepens into love or dissolves into indifference. Time gives a man the ability to step back and evaluate not just who you are, but how he feels when he's with you. That process isn't always conscious. He's not sitting there ticking boxes. It's more subtle than that. He notices how you handle stress, how you talk about your goals, how you respond to conflict. These moments, these very human, sometimes unpolished moments, are where love starts to take shape. Because love isn't built in perfection. It's built in real life. It's built in messiness, vulnerability, and truth. When a man is moving from lust to love, one of the most powerful things he's looking for is emotional safety. He's asking himself, can I be myself around her? Can I share my thoughts, my fears, my dreams, and still feel respected? That emotional openness doesn't happen overnight. It builds slowly through consistent experiences where he feels seen and accepted. And every time he feels like he doesn't have to perform or impress you, but can just be himself, he takes another step toward real emotional intimacy. This is why shared experiences are so crucial. It's easy to enjoy someone's company during exciting dates or fun getaways, but love starts to take root in the ordinary moments. When you cook dinner together, when you navigate a disagreement without tearing each other down, when you're both tired but still choose to connect, that's when something deeper is being built. Love grows through choice, not just chemistry. Every moment you share where kindness, respect, and understanding are exchanged, the connection strengthens. What many people miss is that emotional depth doesn't show itself in the early stages of attraction. A man may be charming, attentive, and incredibly interested in the beginning, but that's not the full picture. That's the surface. It's only with time that his true character reveals itself, and it's the same for you. Time strips away the masks we all wear in the beginning, and that's a good thing, because only then can you both discover whether what you feel is based on fantasy or reality. Women often want to know if a man is serious early on, but asking too soon doesn't always give a truthful answer. Not because he's being deceptive, but because he may not know himself yet. Feelings in the beginning are fluid, they're evolving. And if you try to define everything before it's had the chance to grow naturally, you risk building pressure instead of connection. Real love reveals itself without force. It happens when both people have the time and space to be known fully. Another part of this journey is understanding that emotional vulnerability is not something men are always encouraged to express. Many grow up in environments where being emotionally open is seen as weakness. So for a man to fall in love, he often has to unlearn that conditioning. He has to feel that you're not just a romantic partner, but a safe emotional space. And that kind of trust doesn't come in a week. It comes through consistency, acceptance, and emotional presence. So if a man seems to be taking his time, don't panic. Don't assume his hesitation means a lack of interest. Sometimes it means he's actually being thoughtful. He's feeling things out with care. He's allowing his emotions to evolve naturally. And that's a good thing, because the love that forms through time, through shared experiences, through emotional vulnerability, that love lasts. That love isn't shaken by stress or hardship. It doesn't disappear when the chemistry fades, because it was never just about chemistry to begin with. When love is given time to grow, it becomes something deeper, richer, and far more meaningful than anything lust can offer. And when a man loves you from that place, it's not just a feeling, it's a commitment, a choice, and a connection rooted in truth. One of the most painful mistakes women make in early relationships is confusing intense attention with emotional investment. Just because a man pursues you passionately, showers you with compliments, and seems eager to spend time with you doesn't mean he's emotionally attached. In fact, for many men, the pursuit phase is driven more by ego, excitement, and physical attraction than by any meaningful emotional bond. This is especially true in the early stages, when he's still operating on desire, fantasy, and curiosity, not necessarily genuine emotional connection. The mistake is not in welcoming his attention, but in assuming that attention equals depth. It doesn't. A man's attention in the beginning is often motivated by the thrill of the chase. He sees someone he desires, and he wants to win her over. That's natural. Men, like women, love the spark of something new. But the problem arises when that pursuit is mistaken for love. Just because he's texting you all day, making you feel beautiful and constantly wanting to be around you, doesn't mean he truly knows you or that he's built any emotional roots. That level of effort may feel like emotional intimacy, but it's often a projection. He's reacting to who he thinks you are, not who you truly are. In this early phase, he's still under the influence of the idea of you. That idea is often based on a mixture of physical attraction and the parts of your personality you've revealed so far. Usually the best parts. For women, this shift can feel incredibly personal. They wonder what they did wrong, why he changed, or whether they should have done something differently to keep him. But the truth is, it's rarely about that. It's about the fact that many men are not emotionally invested in the early stages. They're emotionally curious at best. What this means is he's open to something developing, but he hasn't yet committed his heart. He may not even know what emotional investment looks like because so much of his experience is driven by the immediacy of desire rather than the patience of love. Emotional investment looks very different from early infatuation. It's not just about how much he texts you or how excited he seems to be around you. It's about how he responds when things get real. Does he show up when you're not at your best? Does he listen when you speak about things that matter to you? Does he care about your emotional safety, your dreams, your triggers? Emotional investment shows itself through consistency, empathy, and action over time, not through intensity at the start. This is why pacing is everything. When you rush into intimacy, emotional or physical, you skip the essential process of seeing how someone acts when the novelty fades. You miss the chance to see whether their words align with their actions. When there's no thrill to taking your time, not only protects your heart, it also gives the relationship a real chance to form authentically. Because if he's only interested in the highlight reel, he'll get bored when the full story begins to unfold. But if he's truly invested, that's when he leans in. Emotional detachment doesn't always look like distance at first. It can look like intensity. The key is to look beyond the gestures and ask, what are they grounded in? Is he showing up only when things are fun and easy? Or is he making an effort to truly connect? Don't let your guard down just because he's present now. Watch how he behaves over time. Pay attention to whether his presence turns into consistency and his curiosity turns into care. The early stages of a relationship are like a fog. You're seeing the outline, but not the full picture. Give it time. Let that fog clear before you assume anything about what he feels. Emotional investment reveals itself slowly through shared vulnerability, mutual respect, and deliberate action. Anything less than that is just temporary attention dressed up as love. And your heart deserves more than that.